Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is generally considered to be on the easier end of Pokemon games. Between the oh so controversial EXP share, trainers often being underleveled, generally underwhelming gyms and getting thrown Mega Evolutions and Legendaries, it's not hard to see why people would consider this the easiest. Which is why I wanted to ruin it by making every trainer pretty much a champion, and then playing through it as a Nuzlocke. I normally do the can you beat transition here, but let's go ahead and get straight into the rules and augments. Every trainer has the following augments. Every trainer has 6 Pokemon and no less. Every trainer has fully evolved Pokemon, meaning there will not be a single one in this playthrough that is a baby or a middle stage. There is also 1 stage Pokemon, and although a lot of them can be weak, in that pool is also every legendary and mythical Pokemon. Every trainer can also have Mega Evolutions, sometimes in exceedingly rare cases more than 1. Every trainer has max IVs, random held items, random abilities, including hidden abilities, and max AI. They will all also have force percentage high-powered attacks past level 25, although only leveled so we don't have to worry about TMs, and their level is doubled. Due to the fact that every Pokemon we kill is probably going to give us a fuck ton of experience, this is mostly just in to ensure we don't have level 90s 1v1ing level 50s in endgame. When some Pokemon take as much as 2.5 times experience to level than others, it's a little bit hard to balance. But at endgame, we will all pretty much be level 100. And although this isn't a trainer rule, every battle after the first gym will be on set instead of shift. For Nuzlocke rules, we have the standard 2 rules as well as a few clauses. Firstly, as always, only 1 catch per route, only the first Pokemon per route, and if that Pokemon dies, we don't get another one. Secondly, as always, permadeath. If a Pokemon faints, it's dead forever. For the clauses, we have the dupe clause, meaning we can't catch 2 of the same Pokemon unless we have every Pokemon in that route. This is pretty much essential for Hoenn playthroughs so you don't have a team of 6 Tentacruel and 15 billion Zigzagoons in the bank. And to be blunt, Tentacruel is one of the best Pokemon in this playthrough, and Zigzagoon is one of my favorites. The problem is, it's not very diverse, and also, it's, not very interesting for videos. Although not a clause by technicality, gift and given Pokemon are still allowed as long as they are your first and only encounter within that area. And then 2 controversial clauses. Firstly, I allowed soft resets, but exclusively for spinners. This is pretty much just to save time in between backtracking, which there will be a lot of in this challenge. I'm starting off with the EXP share, and the only thing this does is ensure I can actually develop my team before Petalburg. For the early game, we're pretty much going to have to pull a Fire Emblem and have our starter kill absolutely everything at first because there is no way in fuck a level 4 Zigzagoon is going to kill a level 7 Primal Groudon. Anyways, with that preamble out of the way, let's begin our run. For our starter, we pretty much only have 1 choice. Torchic. Swampert and Sceptile are fantastic late game, but for now our biggest concern is even getting past the early game. Brendan has 6 level 10s, all of which, keep in mind, are fully evolved, and to defeat that we need great coverage and great offense, both of which Combuskin has in spades. Anyways, Brendan was a pretty tough fight. He led off with Scizor, which is convenient, but then led off with a fucking Volcanion that nearly ended my run right then and there. Same thing with Milotic, but they used Water Sport for some reason. Swirlpuff also lowered my attack, which made the rest of the battle extremely annoying. Druddigon's Rough Skin was also awful, making my double kick move a suicide and Dragon's natural resistance to fire. And after wasting all these potions, we luckily had an easy finish with Okay, yeah, we had to do this battle all over again, but luckily with a bit more experience it was a lot easier. And after the most infamously difficult trainer, Brendan, was defeated, we could get our Pokeballs as well as the EXP share and truly begin the run. Our first 3 Pokemon included Grrrr, the Poochyena, Bug the Zigzagoon, and the Wurmple. So for the early game, again, have you ever played Fire Emblem on the higher difficulties, where typically one of the better ways to play is to just have that one early game powerhouse completely fuck over everything but making sure your plebeians still get experience? That was our entire early game. And I genuinely wish I could give a more thorough analysis for Petalburg or the following routes, but outside of catching Monty Python and ZZZZZ, it was just that. EXP sharing and swap trading my Pokemon to not die instantly. And honestly, by the time my Pokemon were at an appropriate level with the enemy trainers, we were past the first gym, which fortunately was a pretty tame fight barring this Wobbuffet that scared the literal shit out of me. And eventually, my Pokemon got to a level where they didn't die instantly. Until Blaziken died instantly and my entire game reset from a save error. Shit. Look, to be honest, although I managed to restore this save after the first gym eventually, which gave me save anxiety for the entire run and made me save every 15 seconds for the rest of the entire fucking game, it felt kind of cheap resurrecting Blaziken even though the timeline indicates that it's still alive, so goodbye buddy, I'll miss you. At least we got a Ninjask and a Shedinja, two of my favorite Pokemon. Anyways, now I have to go after that pesky Team Aqua. This goon right here stole Pico and those goddamn parts. We need to murder him to death and head towards the second gym. Oh wait, I did catch Pumbloom. I fucking love Pumbloom. Afterwards we got our old rod and we caught ourselves a Tentacool we aptly named Hentai, Fish the Magikarp, and Anime the Kadabra. With this team we moved forward and the trainers in here were substantially scarier than the actual gym leader. The first trainer gave me the most anxiety because they had a Talent Flame with Brave Bird. I wasn't sure if it had Gale Wings or not, so I had to swap out. Luckily, I was correct in swapping out because it did. And if you don't know, in Generation 6, Gale Wings made all of your flying type moves priority. And with Breloom having a 4x weakness to flying, we would fucking die. Anyways, back to what I was saying, this thunder spamming Raikou was the scariest thing I've seen in my entire life, with half of our team not particularly enjoying that concept, and Fortress. There's a few Pokemon in this playthrough that just have a tendency to have explosion and or self-destruct. These including the Lake Guardians, Regitrio, and a few others. Fortress being one of those few others. Fortunately, luck was on our side, and its sturdy ability was instead replaced with its hidden ability, Overcoat. But, guess who had a berry and moved first anyways? Breloom, being the based god it is, just tanked it to half health. And after a few more very scary encounters, like the one I listed, we got to the next gym, Brawly. I mean gym leader, but it's also very literally a gym. Laugh. Now I'm not gonna lie, I thought Brawly was the one who killed Blaziken before the space-time continuum broke, so I decided to make him suffer with a max evasion swallow. But it wasn't at all, so I'm sorry. This is the one and only time I abuse evasion in this playthrough, despite having multiple Pokemon no minimize. Like, I genuinely fucking apologize. I fucking hate evasion. I have no clue how else to put it, then I feel like I need to do one of those shitty mandatory YouTube apology videos and just throw my dog at the webcam and be like, I'm sorry, to melodramatic music. Do you want to see my dog? Dog, I did a controversy. I'm gonna get fucking killed if you don't save me, or my last bastion of hope. Do something cute. I need you to do something cute, yes. Look at that man. Ignore my sins, look at the puppy. Oh no! He seems to be distressed. I hope that makes it better for you and me. Anyway, Steven talks to us and gives us Steel Wing, a solid TM we will use throughout the entire run, and we can push forward towards the next town and catch our next Pokemon. There's a lot of great Pokemon we can catch on this route, like Gulpin, Electrike, and Oddish. And despite the fact that Puzzle was by far the worst Pokemon we could get and was only a 16% chance encounter, guess what we got? This went into Forever Box forever. And we also found an Alakazite, knowing full well we'll never be able to use it because Kadabra is a trait evolution. Joy. I also grinded Super Training. So if you have a Pokemon with max EVs, you can do Secret Training. And the cool thing about Secret Training is that it's an incredibly easy way to get infinite money no matter where you are in the game. The wings you can get from this incredibly easy Aurorus and Tyrantrum training sell for $1,500 a pop. And if you're using a good Pokemon with a blend of EVs, you can easily get upwards of 4,000 to 6,000 Pokédollars a minute. Well, with the emulator speed up function, of course. And Carpal Tunnel. Anyways, with this I got a few healing items, and by a few healing items I mean like a trillion soft drinks, as even America is doing something right for once, and Hentai evolved into Tentacruel. Tentacruel's early moveset is insane, with so many great moves we can already utilize to a pretty massive extent, but the one I want the most is Toxic Spikes. Pretty much any entry hazard is going to be great when every trainer has 6 Pokemon, and Toxic Spikes is no different. Sadly, the amount of Stealth Rock users we can obtain is a staggering total of 1, but at least there's a few Spikes and Toxic Spikes users. Similarly, our team's movesets are starting to get a little bit better and much more... I've tried saying the words much more coherent 5 fucking times. Text, MS Paint. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, every trainer name is randomized. It has no impact on gameplay, but I think it's kind of funny when I fight somebody and they suddenly change gender, lose or gain hundreds of pounds, age or de-age, learn Shadow Clone Jutsu, or in extremely rare scenarios, all of the above. Also, it's contest time, in which if we put a Pokemon up for a contest, we get a super cool Pikachu, I guess. As I said already, I'll be accepting gift Pokemon even if it's never going to be used. I put Bug up for a cute contest because look at him. Failed. This game is fucking rigged, biased, and fucking awful, but at least we got this abomination. I named it Pikachu because I don't like it and I hate it and I want it to burn. And afterwards we can finally proceed into the route that gave me the even worse failure that is Puzzle. The first mandatory trainer led off with Metagross, in which I was hoping I could one-shot it with a fighting type move, but sadly I wasn't able to do it and Breloom got scarily close to death. And the other Pokemon weren't too far off either. And then it was time for the infamous Brendan battle. Although I guess since literally every trainer has the potential to have the same exact team and they're all put in the same pool, there's not as much point in emphasizing specific battles, but I digress. Brendan led off with a Porygon Z, which got my Breloom all the way down to 7 HP with a Stab Adaptability Hyper Beam. Jesus Christ, but luckily I was able to one-shot it and the Volcarona afterwards with Rock Tomb. Landorus, on the other hand, was a problem, and I swapped into Tentacruel because I thought it outsped Landorus, because Tentacruel is a surprisingly fast Pokemon. Do you want to see something fucking funny? I hate this. And Hentai died because of it. This was a Pokemon I was really hoping to take into the extreme late game, so shit. Goodbye to entry hazards, I guess. On the fortunate-ish side though, after Landorus' death the rest of the team was painfully easy, as Breloom was super effective against Dugtrio and Manaphy, and Minun is Minun. As much as Hentai's death really upset me, I had no time to grieve. Going to Mauville, we can go to Route 117, which had a few great Pokemon, and a lot of very not great Pokemon, but I was very pleasantly surprised to see Meryl. And within a few seconds, I entirely forgot about Tentacruel because I love Azumarill. We recruited Cadbury and immediately slotted them onto the team. And luckily, since we just gained access to the Pokemon Daycare, it wasn't too long until Meryl was an appropriately leveled Azumarill. Also replaced Swellow with Whismur as I already had a flying type, and Stab Boonburst Exploud is fucking scary. And once we got Azumarill, I realized something. This Azumarill doesn't have huge power. It has thick fat. At first I thought this was a curse. God damn it, now my hyper-offensive Water Rabbit isn't as OP as I wanted it to be. But it ended up being a blessing, as Ice is one of the most oppressive types I fight in this entire challenge, and Fire was just completely nullified from existing with a quad resistance. Pretty cool. Anyways, we can move on to the gym. Actually, not just yet, we have to kill Wally. Ninjask now has access to Swords Dance, which in tandem with Speed Boost meant death. Very little can resist a 4x attack, stab, 160 base power Fury Cutter. There was a bit more strategy in the beginning, constantly swapping in and out Mightyena to get Intimidates off, but after that, Carnage, Bloodshed, and Death. Ninjago is just too powerful. Well, not too powerful just yet. It still has a few more tricks up its sleeve, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Real quick though, I actually need more money to buy TMs, because Mauville's Pokemart has some surprisingly great TMs at its disposal, so it's time for Breloom to kill some more dinosaurs. Afterwards, our team's overall utility and sets were a lot better, with pretty much only Mightyena lagging behind everyone else. Kadabra was admittedly a pretty big one-trick pony with Charge Beam and a fuck ton of psychic moves, but that's okay for what we're going for. Starting the gym, there wasn't a single trainer here that wasn't scary in one way or another, and near deaths were excruciatingly abundant. We did get our first really good priority move with Mightyena's Sucker Punch though, so I'm glad for that at least. Moving on to Watson, he fortunately leads off with a Watchog, which I can fortunately set up Intimidates on and get Ninjask enough attack to kill Watchog and Victini. But afterwards there was a Regirock, which I did not feel comfortable with staying in against whatsoever. Again, the Regis usually have Explosion, so I swapped into Breloom to set up a Bulk Up or two to tank it, which fortunately he took like an absolute champ with its defenses. Also the fact it's a level over leveled, but fuck it. Afterwards is Skarmory, which is a tad bit problematic as it's 4 times effective against Breloom, so I swapped into Gururururur to try and get an Intimidate off. Although Skarmory used Air Slash, so that didn't really do a whole lot for us. I spammed Bite and Crunch to get off a secondary effect, and used Swagger since it was only using Air Slash. I killed it off, and after Skarmory, Thunderous. I didn't have a whole lot of Pokemon to counter this, so I decided to stay into Gur and use Crunch, in which I got not only a Quick Claw proc, but also a critical Crunch. Then Thunderous used Hammer Arm, which fortunately did not kill us. I tried to use Sucker Punch the turn after, but Watson ended up using a Super Potion. This put me in a shitty scenario because I did not think Mightyena was going to outspeed Thunderous again because it's pretty but he managed to surprise me and get the kill off. What an absolute fucking legend. The last Pokemon Watson had up his sleeve was fittingly Raikou, which I could wall off with ZZZZZ, use Seed Bomb, murder the absolute fuck out of it, and hence kill Watson. Then, move on to the next route. I had to use Rock Smash to get to the next route, and I had to really hope I didn't get a Geodude here because there's an encounter I really want later. And sure enough, I didn't. Afterwards, we got our first new fire type since our starter got killed in an alternative timeline, Numa. Despite not being an exceptionally good Pokemon, in all honesty, it's ultimately still a fire type, and that's something I really need. On the fiery path, I also managed to catch a Grimer, which isn't the best Pokemon, but it's a damn good one. Outside the fiery path is a mandatory trainer who just casually busts out Mega Mewtwo Y, and I tried to kill it off with Mightyena before I realized this fucker also has Aura Sphere, which Mightyena, being the absolute champion it is, managed to shrug it off yet again. I keep underselling Mightyena subconsciously, but it's unironically really fucking good. Fortunately, there's an area right after this I can heal up in to not be at an active disadvantage. And after healing up to full, Brennan helped me and healed me up to full. Thanks, I guess. Also Spinda. I caught it because why not? I named it Trash Panda because I'm never fucking using this thing and got to the next town. The route after, I caught a Lombre, and then I fought this trainer. This fucking trainer. It casually busted out Primal Groudon, which has coverage moves against my entire team. So unfortunately this meant we needed a sacrifice. And as much as I would love to sack off Kadabra, Mightyena unfortunately ended up being our choice exclusively because it had Intimidate. Groudon used Eruption and one-shot Mightyena without much issue. And the rest of the battle was just a constant panic as I was trying to heal over and over and over again and pray for a miss or a wrong move. This took a while, and with Mightyena's sacrifice I was eventually able to just barely kill off Groudon, then finish off the trainer. I then replaced Mightyena in for Swellow, nearly had a heart attack with this fucking explosion, and then we can have our first double trainer battle. Now there's a key difference between a double trainer battle and a double battle. Double trainer battle is when our second slot is replaced with a trainer a la Brendan or Steven. Here's the issue. This means we have to kill off 12 Pokemon. Not 6, 12. Which is really fucking brutal, and this essentially meant there was almost always going to be a mandatory loss. The first 2 Pokemon were fairly easy, with Brendan sending out Kyurem Light against a Love Disc and a Chimecho. Not exactly the most balanced matchup, but after Kyurem's death he swapped into Azelf, who just casually used Explosion, which killed everything, including Monty Python. Brendan fucking inted me. And then he swapped into Marowak, died, and then afterwards is Gourgeist. Guess what Gourgeist used? I anticipated this and immediately swapped into Xcloud, which was probably our best chance of surviving this, which fortunately it did with only 33 HP. After inting 2 Pokemon in a row, Brendan then sent out Fearow. Fantastic, that thing cannot kill me. Quillfish. This is where I had a fucking aneurysm, and if you're curious, yes, Brendan was the only thing actually killing me. Hence why I actually haven't mentioned the enemy trainers. They did hardly fucking anything. Brendan was the only threat. I wish I could say this is sarcasm, but no. Despite Brendan being the worst fucking trainer I've seen in my entire goddamn life, we managed to escape with our only casualty, luckily, being Swallow. Then he took us over to Mauville, and I can release Monty Python to the wilds. After this, I needed another team member, so we leveled up Numa and Gogurt. It took a while for them to evolve into Golbat and Camerupt, and we needed to find heart skills out in the wild because, again, this encounter right here is very important, so we can't use Rock Smash yet. And honestly, Golbat with acrobatics is fucking scary. And it'll be even scarier once it evolves into Crobat. It also has some other great moves, such as Poison Fang, and we got Ninjago Baton Pass so we can set up better sweeps. Camerupt was a pretty decent mixed attacker with Earthquake, Flamethrower, and a Rock-type move. We got Azumarill Aqua Tail for previously mentioned Baton Pass sweeps, and then we can start our, quote, assault on Team Aqua. Do you know how Team Aqua's plan is going so well? Because they already fucking caught Primal Groudon. These motherfuckers really thought of everything. It also established Fireground supremacy by completely T-posing on Numa, so goodbye to her, I guess. Despite this travesty, I was able to kill off Archie with a big Ninjask sweep, and we can progress towards the next gym. We also caught him a Chop we will probably never use, and a Wynot Egg which will be saved for later. Fortunately, this gym, with proper routing, only requires 1 mandatory trainer, and it wasn't too much of an issue. It did nearly kill off Ninjago like an absolute bitch, but there is no close. You either do or you don't, and Ninjago is a god. So now we can go ahead and challenge Flannery. Flannery led off with Blossom, which is arguably one of, if not the best Pokemon she can lead out with. And I know it's a tad bit cheap and I'll limit it later on in the run, but Ninjago could just sweep everything up until Magcargo, and then all it requires is Baton Pass into Cadbury to finish that off and then use Play Rough against Flygon. It's not the most climactic gym. Well, the reason I'm doing this is primarily because I'm in a huge rush to get past the 5th gym, because that's when a lot of the game opens up since we unlock Surf. And this is Hoenn. There's a lot of places to surf. Afterwards, we can capture ourselves a Cacnea, go back to this town to get ourselves a Leap, and then head towards the next gym. The gym started off as all good gyms should, Azelf using fucking Explosion and killing off Pumbloom a few levels before its massive power spike. God fucking damn it. Oh, but it gets better. The next trainer I led off was Serial Killer against a Stantler. And I thought, okay, this thing might have Mega Horn, but I should still be able to outspeed it and deal some damage with Psychic. What the fuck? I'll admit I soft reset here because I initially thought this was a randomization bug out of my control. It hasn't happened up until the run yet, but it's not impossible. You know, maybe it had Wonder Guard or some other random ability I just don't know about. Nope. What a fucking play. I got duped. I can't even be upset. This had to happen at least one point in my multiple playthroughs and I'm glad it happened here. But I'm leading off with a Pokemon that only knows Psychic type moves. Could have been against any other Pokemon? Yeah, probably, but the one time I used Kadabra as my leader, there it is. Of course I'm not going to use this and I'm still going to release Serial Killer anyways, but I just had to ensure this wasn't some weird bug I didn't know about. After these two casualties, I decided to just push forward because a lot of the Pokemon I'm looking forward to the most are after Surf. This was extremely fucking dangerous, because I only have 3 appropriately leveled Pokemon. The last 3 slots are an underleveled Lileep, an underleveled Shedinja, and a fucking egg. Not a good roster. Going against Norman, he leads off with Arceus. What a good start. Now, this wasn't a particularly good matchup, and I had to pray to RNGesus that I could get a Swords Dance off and kill it without too much of an issue. I used Swords Dance, used Baton Pass into Kyogre, and Arceus used Hyper Beam. This could have very easily been the end of the run. But Kyogre, being the literal legend that it is, survived with just 29 HP, and we could get Arceus down to half, and then use Acrobatics again, and then finish it off. Afterwards, Norman swapped into Xatu, and for this I had to swap into Shedinja, exclusively to tank the oncoming Psychic attack, and the Future Sight coming thereafter. And then we had to swap out into Cadbury so we don't die to a Flying type move. Then we can kill off Xatu. Of course, right before it died it used Future Sight, but luckily the Pokemon after, Reuniclus, couldn't actually damage Shedinja, so I swapped into him to tank the Future Sight and the oncoming damage. Shedinja poked away at Reuniclus until it forced a Darmanitan swap. And with Darmanitan having less accuracy and only dealing a quarter damage to my thick fat Azumarill, it was pretty easy to knock out. Reuniclus came back out, used Future Sight, I swapped back into Shedinja, took the hits, forced the swap into Simisear, and then Azumarill could just tank that again. Reuniclus came back out again, and during this battle Shedinja learned Confuse Ray, which made me able to kill Reuniclus because we sure as fuck weren't going to be able to kill it before Struggle. Eventually, after killing Reuniclus, Norman only had 1 Pokemon left. Sock. I then swapped into Cadbury to use Play Rough to finish out the fight, and god fucking damn it, the severely underleveled, underused, in fact actually not at all used, Shedinja saved the run. What a beautiful little creature. And afterwards we finally got Surf. Then I got my good rod and went on a fishing surfing adventure. First of all, remember how I said we couldn't encounter Geodude here? That's because I really want a Whiscash. It fits really well into our team and it's overall a very, very nice Pokemon. So now we can go ahead and catch that and... fuck. Somebody forgot to catch a Goldeen beforehand. Well shit. That's admittedly a pretty massive hiccup. Whatever, we got the following Pokemon. We got a Goldeen, Swablu, Corphish, Carvanha, and Voltorb. I tried to catch a Wailmer, but after 20 minutes of not getting the 5% chance, I gave up. Which actually ended up being a really good thing, because I entirely forgot about Pikachu. And I actually would have entirely invalidated my entire run if I caught it. Look, Pikachu is pretty much on the same league as Trash Panda. The only reason I have it is in case of some weird doomsday scenario where literally every other fucking Pokemon dies. Anyways, here's our new and improved team after much grinding and daycare shenaniganizing. Gogurt the Crobat, Ninjago the Ninjask, Cadbury the Azumarill, Cradily the Cradily. I never went to the Name Raider, which is almost a better fate because I would have named it fucking Dick Monster. Poland the Voltorb, and Final Fantasy the Altaria. Its name is Final Fantasy because of Mr. Final Fantasy himself. Also the Sky Cities. I fucking love the Sky Cities. Anyways, I grinded all this in preparation for one main reason. Remember that double battle I had with that complete fucking failure that you can call a Brendan? Once we proceed into the next route, we're gonna have another one of those with Steven Stone. I needed to have a bunch of money and optimal-ish moves to help out against that. Luckily, since we can encounter Geodudes, now we can Rock Smash this and have an incredibly easy way to farm infinite money and infinite heart skills. But regardless, we got there eventually and got to this double battle. Steven led off with Electros, and immediately Cadbury was getting cyberbullied by the enemy Genesect, and after Dunsparce used Double Edge, the actual god himself lived with 5 HP. Afterwards I healed up again, and this time Cadbury only lived with 21 after 1 attack. But fortunately the gods were with us and Electros finally managed to kill off Dunsparce and we didn't lose out on our bunny boy. After Dunsparce was dead, Chestnut was sent out, which was problematic for obvious reasons. For this, I swapped in a Final Fantasy due to its resistance to grass and only taking 1 times to Zap Cannon. And despite those resistances, it still only lived with 17 HP. I'd heal him up, and then they both went for Takedown and Hyper Beam, which killed off Final Fantasy before we could really use him. Sad. Luckily, in the same turn, Steven finally killed off a Genesect. It was a little bit too late, but afterwards we sent in Gogurt, to which the AI sent out Landorus, which was incredibly unlucky for us. But at the very least we can fortunately kill off Chestnut, and Gogurt tanked Landorus' Stone Edge pretty convincingly. But sadly after, Uxie was sent out, and I really did not have a proper swap in for that. So I had to sack off Gogurt before she could really ever start her legacy. We had to send in Cadbury yet again, which fortunately walled off the opposing 2 Pokemon, while Steven Stone, again, only kept using fucking Electros. But eventually, thankfully, Electros died and Steven sent in Buffalon to deal with Uxie. And afterwards there was Tornadus and Tornadus. Despite how scary the prospect of Double Hurricane was, Cadbury, being the tanky bitch he is, managed to wall them off while Steven managed to do something with Lugia. After both Tornaduses were gone, it was just Houndoom and Slowking, and this is pretty much where the battle was won. Houndoom can't do shit against Azumarill, and if it was sent out, that can only mean that the first trainer is running out of good Pokemon against Cadbury, which managed to be the case as the next Pokemon was Infernape, which is actually worse off than Houndoom. I could one-shot it with these, and then the rest of the battle was an incredibly easy 2v1 with Primeape just fucking up both of the remaining Pokemon with a stab close combat. Despite our 2 painful casualties, I'm actually more than happy with this result, as I was more than anticipating 4 or even 5 Pokemon dying. Steven then committed an act of necromancy to resurrect our team, and we got our Latias, which in honor of Final Fantasy's death, we named Finalist Fantasy. But sadly that didn't fit, so we went with Finalist F. We can also now Mega Evolve it, which is handy, and as much as I would have preferred Final Fantasy to not die, this is a fitting and honestly pretty great replacement. For Crobat, we replaced it with a Grimer who was named Cumjoke. Original, I know. We pushed forward to get experience, but during so, we found a Gloom, and I would fucking love a Vileplume in this run, so we caught it and appropriately named it Nuptup. There's an Electrike as well, so I'm glad we have a solid electric type replacement for Poland if need be. We then got to the weather station, which fortunately was pretty easy. We swapped Brendan with Ninjago, and unfortunately we got a Kecleon on this route, despite infinitely better Pokemon being available. I would have much rather had a Tropius or Absol, but fuck it, 5% chance, LMAO. And then we finally got our beloved Barboach. And then it was time for a minor team swap. Our new team featured a swap of Poland into Pubby, the Manectric, and Johnny the Wishcash. This was a pretty solid team that had quite a lot of bases covered, but of course we need to get them appropriately geared, so it's grinding time. During that grind though, Ninjago hit level 100, so I put him in the box because he is way too overpowered for our level. And for his replacement, we got Cumjoke back into the party. With our team leveled, we got some pretty decent movesets. Cumjoke had Gunk Shot, Mud Bomb, Power Up Punch and Minimize, while Johnny was an all-out attacker with Earthquake, Aqua Tail, Rock Tomb, and Zen Headbutt. Admittedly, Pubby was a one-trick pony with Volt Switch, but it's a damn good trick, as it has pretty decent speed and allows us to almost always get a favorable swap in on the first turn. Anyways, moving on to Fortree City, after detecting the presence of Scum, we get to challenge the gym leader, and goddammit, Pubby's one trick doesn't fucking work against ground types. We do have Overheat, but I swapped into Cadbury anyways, which in retrospect was not a terrific move, but we managed to get our Surf off and one-hit KO Gurren Lagann before Regirock just hopped on in. I knew this thing was going to explode as all Regis have a tendency to do, but fortunately Cadbury is a tanky son of a bitch, so that wasn't too much of an issue. Abomasnow on the other hand countered pretty much my entire team. I had to swap into Pubby, and fortunately Blizzard missed and I was able to get off my 4 times Overheat for the kill. Afterwards is Houndoom, which I Volt Switched, oh, okay. Goodbye, puppy. Go Cadbury, I guess. Again, with that 4 times resistance to fire, Cadbury just completely dunked on Houndoom, and then we can just spam play rough against Latios. Until I use a Hyper Potion on the wrong fucking Pokemon and almost kill off Cadbury for no reason. That wasn't ideal. This one fuck-up actually forced me to swap into Cradily because of the special defense drops, and fortunately Cradily was more than capable to tank a hit or two for us. Then I can swap into Cadbury, get the kill, and absolutely murder Mawile with Surf. 6 gems down, 2 to go. I caught a Shuppet I appropriately named Chucky, a Doduo I named 3-Head in case I ever evolved it. I never did. And then Brendan. Brendan was kind of in the way of the mall, which I really wanted to go to. I tried to get there earlier, but unlike the original games, you actually have to clear the 6th gym to get there, which is kind of a dumb change in my opinion, but I digress. I just went ahead and set up like 1,000 X items and completely fucked them up with the God King that is Johnny, but afterwards we need money, cause I really want those TMs. I also try to get a Poison Barb for Muck. In this entire run I've been trying my best to get type boosting items for all of my Pokemon, but sadly a few types are just painfully dickish to get, with only certain wild Pokemon having a 5% chance to hold them, so we never got it. Same thing with Electrode, I'm not going to use Thief against 5,000 fucking Magnemites. Anyways, after our shopping spree we got quite a few great TMs that we can push forward with the story. We gotta get up Ghost Mountain. Fortunately at this point our team is pretty well rounded, and most of the trainers we went up against really didn't have all that great of teams, so I managed to wipe them out with ease and go through the Team Aqua hideout. There aren't a whole lot of mandatory trainers here, but we do indeed get a Master Ball, so that's neat. Also, this battle nearly gave me a fucking heart attack. Although the Pokemon are really good, all we needed to do was Volt Switch Mega, swap into Johnny, use Earthquake and beat the battle without any issue. The battle against Matt was also fairly uneventful. The cool thing about this challenge is the fact that every trainer has the potential to end your run. I mean, one of the playthroughs I got the farthest in was actually ended because of a random fighter. But the bad thing about this challenge is it makes every encounter kind of samey. So I'm not trying to scroll through certain segments because of lack of interest, more so just because there's not a whole lot to note. After this, we can surf to the next city, get the Super Rod, and get that oh so mythical Wailmer I wanted, and a Staryu. Celio 2, I definitely would have preferred a Frostlass, but the Walrein line is also really fucking good. Fortunately, the next gym was fairly easy, and once we get to the gym leaders, we need to pause the video. Yes, we're doing a freeze frame. Let me tell you the giant fucking mistake I just made. So how the level scaling in this challenge works is, say for example, a trainer has a level 23, 26, and 28 Pokemon. It would respectively go to 46, 52, and 56 Pokemon. You know, 2 times level. But if there's any empty slots, which there is, you know, we're making every trainer have 6 Pokemon, it'll essentially duplicate those levels for the rest of the team. So the trainers here have level 39 to 41 Pokemon, which means the average level is about, 78 to 82, something like that. But the gym leaders here have 2 level 45 Pokemon. To fulfill that gimmick of, oh, we're one of the only, in fact I think the only double battle gym leader, so we're going to have 2 really high level Pokemon. The problem is, that gimmick doesn't work when there's 6 Pokemon. I was already a tad bit underleveled compared to the trainers here, so now that the leaders have a combined total of nearly 60 levels on me, that, well, predictably led to this. My entire team fucking dying. So now we have to grind up an entirely new B team and get them ready to battle, which as you may suspect, isn't a very short endeavor. So a newly constructed B team was the following. We have Oh the Metacham, which I named after this abomination of a sprite from Gen 3, Woowa the Wobbuffet, which we'll have in the front lines, the return of Ninjago, Chucky the Bayonet, Nuptup the Vileplume, and Spherical the Walrein. Chucky, Oh, and Ninjago were all predictably physical attackers. Nuptup was a specialist wall, Spherical was a pretty awesome wall against certain types, and Wobbuffet was Wobbuffet. Our items weren't particularly good, Nuptup and Chucky just flat out don't have any, but other than this is about as prepared as we're going to get. Going into the battle, we immediately Mega Evolve Medicham to deal with the Furret and the Aurorus, and Wobbuffet just does what Wobbuffet does. After Aurorus died, there was an enemy Hoopa, which was sadly super effective against both of our Pokemon, but we had to take this one turn at a time. Wobbuffet then used Counter to kill Furret, in which they sent out Scizor, which I can easily kill with Fire Punch, and I used a Hyper Potion to heal up Wobbuffet. Luckily Hoopa went over Wobbuffet, being the tanky bastard that it is, and then they sent out Keldeo. We had Zen Headbutt to deal with that, and at this point I am oh so thankful that Medicham just has this good of a moveset. First though, I need to deal with Hoopa, which we fortunately only need to hit once, and the last Pokemon was Hoenn, which with Thunder Punch we could easily kill. And again, holy shit, Medicham was super effective against their entire team excluding Hoopa. It was actually at risk of dying at the end, but luckily Hoenn, being the idiot that it is, used Dive, which means I can just swap into Spherical, and then we can murderate Hoenn and enact our vengeance for the betrayed. With the gym badge at our disposal, we can now use Dive, and now also go down to the spooky cave, in which I spent way longer than I would like to admit because I didn't think this was a staircase. And then we can fight Archie. Of course, Archie led off with his iconic legendary, Cobalion. Cobalion? I literally only have one joke, and that's doing this segment in every Pokemon video. It's funny because Pokemon has very inconsistent pronunciations. Anyways, I send out Ninjago, but I had to swap into Vuva here just to try and get a counter off. But sadly, Ironhead made me flinch over and over again, which was extremely inconvenient. And by the time I finally got to use counter, it didn't even kill him. Well, through the power of Hyper Potions, I managed to kill it off, and then Archie sent out his next iconic legendary, Regice. At least it's Hoenn this time. I know Regice was going to use Explosion, as the Regis have a very funny tendency to do so, but fortunately that's why we got our boy Chucky here. Then Archie sent out his iconic legendary, Moltres. Spherical obviously just completely walls this thing off, and then it dies to one hit. Afterwards, Archie sent out his iconic never mind, it's just Infernape. Yeah, we couldn't exactly tank close combats from this thing, so I had to swap into O to tank a close combat, which is great until I tested my luck and tried to kill it off with a Zen Headbutt, in which I promptly got Flare Blitz into Oblivion, and we lost O. Fortunately at that point we could just counter it with Wobbuffet, and then Archie just sent out his iconic legendary, Manaphy. At least it's a water type. For this we sent out our tanky boy Nuptup to wall it off, including an annoying mixture of Toxic, Protect, and Giga Drain. And then the last Pokemon of the team, Mega Mawile. Just to state it here, every trainer that has a Mega Pokemon in the story will actually get a randomized Mega Evolution. And Mawile was definitely one of the scariest ones that could be sent out. Nuptup could barely tank an Ironhead that wasn't even at 1 times damage, so I had to send out Chucky, who lived with a staggering 3 HP and... the game crashed? Okay then. Well, the battle played out virtually the same, except now we also lost Wobbuffet on top of Medicham. Joy to the world. Anyways, we can now progress to Sutapua City and get Kyogre. Now hold on a second, before you type Davey, why would you use a legendary? You're so bad, fuck you. Yes, I know. Usually it's not fair to use a legendary in a Nuzlocke, but Archie had fucking 4 and a Uber's level Mega Evolution. I think I can give myself this leniency. We named it 7.8 out of 10 in honor of the best review ever, and we got this cool flute, which thank the fucking gods you don't need to have Latios or Latios to use. I was originally really scared that I wasn't going to be able to, but luckily, Game Freak accounted for my inadequacy of releasing a legendary. With this flute, I want to say outright, right now I could catch a fuck ton of legendaries, including Zekrom, Thundurus, and my choice of these fuckers and these fuckers. I don't remember their names because I don't much care for them, so I'm just referring to them as these fuckers in scripting. But I didn't really like the concept of that, so I instead went out and killed them. Did you know that you can just kill Thundurus over and over and over again? Kinda fucked, but also incredible. I also fought this trainer because I heard online he gave a lot of money, and I wanted money. What I didn't know is that he had a Cincino that knew Rock Blast. Rest and fuck, Ninjago. You are the one remaining Pokemon that gave me happiness. Excluding Bug, who is permanently in the PC because I don't want to commit suicide. I really wanted to take you to the Elite Four, but I guess fate decided we shouldn't. Although my voice is incapable of expressing emotion, the amount I felt here was insurmountable. Anyways, we did catch a few Pokemon though, and by a few Pokemon I actually just mean Spiritomb, which I ran away from on accident. Whoopsie doopsie. We did get a cool TM and like a trillion nuggets though, so at least there's that. Also Banatite, so Chucky can be our Mega Evolution from here on out. Actually one of the worst ones we could have possibly had, but I lost all the other ones. I can deal with this. Oh wait, we actually did catch a Donphan by the Mirage Forest and a Braviary while flying around. They were pretty cool and we slotted both into our team. Anyways, Wallace, who is way better than that loser Juan by the way. He's the last gym-related battle in the entire playthrough. And sadly / luckily, he was kind of a huge pushover for this stage of the game. And the only Pokemon that posed a threat at all was Thundurus. The both of them. But that's why we got our boy Elephant here, and we can finally progress to Victory Road. At this stage in the game, almost every trainer is close to max level, so we're in the true endgame now. We caught a Sableye here, and we also lost Spherical due to this bullshit double battle near the end. But at the end of it all, lied Wally. That bastard. Call me Otto because I'm gonna blast him straight to hell. Again, it's a Wally reference. Anyways, he led off with Cresselia, which promptly got blasted. And by quote, got blasted, I mean I knew that I could set up Calm Minds here and I slapped him with Kyogre. Look dude, we're at the very fucking end of the game, and I spent like over 100 hours on this challenge across multiple playthroughs. Anticipation was starting to kill me, fucking sue me. Well, before the anticipation though, we need to get a good team. Firstly, I killed Cobalion. That's the first important step of the day. Secondly, I found a shiny Tentacool, which was cool I guess. And then I had a real philosophical debate with myself on who should be the last Pokemon slotted into the team. And I decided Ninjago needed revenge, even if it was through its lifeless, hollow shell. But afterwards we needed to EV train and give them optimal movesets, which luckily, with the Eon Flute, we don't have to have Fly. We can just get straight to the Elite Four and back without any fucking HMs, which, thank god, I hated how much I had to use that in this playthrough. We gave Chucky, Ninjago 2, and Murka nothing but attack and speed. Donphan was attack and health, and a small amount of defense. Nuptup was a wall through and through, and Kyogre had defense, special attack, and a small amount of special defense. Their items were also pretty decent. Murka had a White Herb for its superpower, Banette had Banatite, Ninjago 2 had a berry that heals statuses, Kyogre obviously had the Blue Orb, Donphan had Soft Sand to boost its ground type attacks, and Nuptup had something, I think? I think it's the one that makes it so attacks have a slightly higher chance of missing. Anyways, it's time for the Hoenn Elite Four, which means it's time to completely blast the Hoenn Elite Four theme in editing. Also, one last thing to note, at this point every Pokemon is level 100, and although I haven't really abused healing items too heavily in this run with a few niche outliers, I decided to limit it to only 3 per battle just for this run. I know healing items and really all items are pretty debatable in Nuzlocks, but fuck you, this isn't your standard Nuzlocke. Anyways, for every battle we're going to lead off with Braviary for very similar reasons as Poland and Puppy. It's pretty speedy and U-turn gives us favorable matchups at the beginning nearly no matter what. But unlike Poland and Puppy, we also don't have to worry about ground types, so that's just lovely. Sydney was up first, and he led off with Mightyena, which tried to... Oh, wait a minute. Let me fix that. He led off with Gastrodon, which I could just U-turn straight into Nuptup for that sick 4-time super effective Giga Drain. Afterwards, Camerupt, which, I mean, it's pretty obvious what we're going to swap into. Executor just got completely shafted by Braviary, 4 times weakness to U-turn and all that. Without a proper swap, I went into Shedinja. They swapped into Volcarona in response, and yeah. Kyogre's ability is really good. They then sent out Heracross, which we swapped into Elephant due to how physically bulky he is, and even with that, it's actually astounding how much damage Mega Horn did. I had to swap into Ninjago 2 here, and I used Protect to see if it had a super effective move, which luckily it doesn't. And the fact that it's not swapping out pretty much means that the battle is over. If you don't know, if a trainer doesn't have a super effective move against Shedinja, it'll swap into a Pokemon that does, and the fact that it's not pretty much just indicates that his last Pokemon couldn't harm Shedinja. And sure enough, Kingdra just got poisoned into oblivion and we can move on to the next Elite Four member. Phoebe led off with Landorus, so I immediately U-turned straight into Kyogre to get off an Ice Beam for that sick 4-time super effective damage. Then they swapped into Meganium, so I got Murk out into the field to Brave Bird it away, and then Primal Groudon rears its ugly head yet again to say hello. Now fortunately for us, since it was on the field first, we can swap into Kyogre, activate our weather ability, and not have to worry about Groudon's ability, which gets rid of water type moves entirely. If it swapped into us first, we'd probably be in a lot more danger. Groudon did over 60% of our HP and easily could have killed us with a critical hit, but we got our Origin Pulse off and managed to get him down before they swapped into Sawsbuck, and for this we had Nuptup onto the field to tank whatever it could throw at us, using Toxic and Venoshock for an easy kill. Against Umbreon, we just had to bust out Elefun to try and whittle it down, since our only real super effective move in this scenario is Braviary's superpower, which I am not very fond of trying to spam against an Umbreon. And last but definitely not least, Starmie. Well, actually kind of least, for this I just swapped in Kyogre to establish water type supremacy. I used Thunder and one-shot it, beat Phoebe and can move on to the next trainer, Ice Woman. Look, she's easily the least recognizable, okay? She led off with Breloom, which is a very convenient opener against Braviary, and we can already narrow it down to a 6v5. Afterwards Marowak, and this is where we use our U-turn into Elefun for that sick defense. And by god, defense it had in spades. Just like all good ground types, I just used Earthquake, which was more than enough to kill it off, and then out came Tornadus. I made the assumption that Donphan could at least tank a Hurricane, but that assessment was drastically wrong, and I ended up losing Elefun only halfway through this bracket. Shite. Afterwards, I only really had one option to swap into, Kyogre. Using Thunder, I got Tornadus out of the sky, and then out came Whimsicott. I swapped into Nuptup to wall it off and hopefully get off a Venoshock. What I wasn't anticipating was Whimsicott using Hurricane, which luckily for us, missed. And luckily with its 4x weakness to poison, I was able to one-shot it and out came Fearow, which just like its legendary brethren, got blasted out of the sky. And then finally, Garchomp, who was a complete bitch with flinches, but since we didn't heal up this battle, we could just spam full restores and finally get off our Ice Beam to defeat the third Elite Four member. Lastly on the chopping block is Drake, who led off with Porygon Z. Although I was fairly confident a superpower would one-shot it, I didn't want to risk Braviary so early, so I swapped into Kyogre, and holy god, even with being this big of a specially defensive wall, Porygon still got me to half health. If it wasn't for the first attack missing, I would be in huge danger. Against Victreebel, I had to establish Gen 1 Grass Poison Supremacy with Nuptup, who completely walled off his Grass-type attacks and I managed to kill off with Venoshock. But not before Drake used all of its full restores on it, which was immensely helpful for the rest of the battle. Against Chimecho, for the first time in this Elite Four, we get to finally use Chucky. And with a Mega Evolved Sucker Punch, we could one-shot it with ease. And then out came Ariados. For this, we used America, which was a very obvious one-shot. Against Hippowdon, we brought out too much water for it to handle, and finally, Muck, who didn't really stand a chance against a critical Origin Pulse. Who would have thought? And now we can finally move on to the final battle of the run, Steven Stone. Steven Stone led off with a banger tune, but in terms of the actual battle, Seviper. I used Brave Bird immediately, and luckily that was an immediate one-turn kill. And then Suicune came out. For this, we needed the one and only, Shedinja, who luckily for us completely walls it off as indicated by the swap out. Against Yveltal, we blasted out of the sky with our other Uber's Pokemon, and then Aggron. I was originally concerned with this potentially being Steven's Mega since, you know, Steven Stone, but no, it's just base standard Aggron. Granted, with Sturdy, but Steven was kind enough to give us the kill. What a guy. Anyways, Cobalion. Again, we swapped into Shedinja to see if it had any super effective moves. And here is where something incredible happens. Cobalion didn't swap out despite not having any super effective moves. which means that 2 out of the 3 remaining Pokemon could not harm Shedinja. And if you're curious on to why the 3rd isn't being swapped out, that's because the trainers always keep their Mega at the last of their party as a part of their AI. Ninjago 2 now had free reign to decide the battle, and although I did make this dumb mistake here in thinking that Murica could outspeed Cobalion, we eventually killed off Suicune and then eventually outcame Steven's Mega, Medicham, and I was really hoping that didn't have a super effective move. So Ninjago used Shadow Sneak, Medicham was confused, and it used Fire Punch. God damn it. Well, it was time for Chucky to do its thing, until it's not time for Chucky to do its thing. God fucking damn it, dude. And then I swapped into Kyogre, preparing for a worst case scenario. But luckily, at the very end, the confusion hit finally landed and it killed itself. Cobalion then started blasting my Kyogre, and although I still had a healing item left, I decided to go for a climactic finish. Nuptup got into the battle, Giga drained the hell out of Cobalion with only 49 HP remaining, and with that, I managed to beat the champion after many long, grueling hours, stress, and death. We logged our Pokemon into the Hall of Fame, and despite only having 2 survivors on the team, I was just glad that we made it to the end. And if I'm being honest, I'm just really glad Nuptup was one of the last survivors, and then we can return home. But not after Brendan, the stupid fucking necromancer that he is, wouldn't leave my Pokemon be. God damn it, go away. Anyways, we can now return home, release our fallen comrades, and never pick up the stupid fucking ROM again. Because I beat it, finally, and I never, ever want to play Alpha Sapphire again. As always, thank you to my patrons who support my videos. You're all awesome, and I can't stress enough how thankful I am that you're here. I mean, you're stupid and dumb and I hate you, and eat a bag of dicks. Thank you so much for watching. If you feel like it, press arbitrary buttons to make arbitrary numbers go up. And, yeah, that's the outro. My voice is very dead. See ya.